Hello, everybody, and welcome to the GCPA Ragtime Look Back for Give STL Day. I mean this when I say we appreciate you for sharing your evening being here with us. Now, remember, we are looking for as many unique donors as possible, so ask friends and family to donate just $10, and it can turn into thousands. So thank you all for being here. I am your host, Zion Thomas. I was the assistant director for this phenomenal show, and I'm also a GCPA alumnus, having been in two of their summer shows, Violet in 2018, of which I am repping the shirt right now, and Spring Awakening in 2019. So with me here today is a panel of a few Ragtime cast members, including Grace Cooperstein right there,
Hi.
Lauren Burns.
Hi.
We have Asher Woodward with us today.
Hi.
As well. There you go. We have Isaiah Host and Marquesa Dalton.
Hi.
And Rico Martin with
Hello.
us here today. Yes, it's very good to see you guys again. I'm gonna say I missed you, and I'm gonna allow you all to formally introduce yourselves. And so, can you guys just give your name once more, your age, roughly how long you've been with GCPA, or how many shows you've done, and what roles you played in Ragtime?
Yeah. Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah, let's start in that order. Let's start in the order.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Grace Cooperstein. I use she, her pronouns. I am 17 years old. I've been with GCPA for about 8 years. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying that. That's crazy. But I've been doing YTC for 5 of those years. I played Emma Goldman.
And make sure you have to add your pronouns as well. Thank you, Grace.
Hi, my name is Marin. I use she, her pronouns as well. And Ragtime was my first show with GCPA. I was the Evelyn Nesbitt understudy, as well as had many tracks in the ensemble.
Hi, I'm Asher. I'm 14 years old. I use he, him pronouns. I've been at GCPA for about 2 years now, and I played Harry Houdini.
Hi, I'm Isaiah. I use he, him pronouns. This is my first year at GCPA, and I played ensemble. I was the ensemble.
Hi, I'm Marquesa Dalton. I'm 15 years old, and I was in the ensemble in Ragtime, and I've been with GCPA for around like 5 or 6 years now.
I'm Rico. I am 15. I use he, him pronouns. I had taken classes before for about a year with GCPA, but Ragtime was my first show. And I played Booker T. Washington, and I was a part of the Harlem Ensemble.
Well, wonderful, wonderful. So it seems we have a mix of first timers and seasoned veterans here. Okay, first question. Can you guys talk about a little how this rehearsal process made you feel, either as a first timer or a long time veteran of GCPA, especially in relation to other shows that you may have been a part of? What stuck out to you? Whoever wants to start.
I'm sorry. Okay. As a first timer with GCPA, I definitely felt really welcome throughout the whole process, which to me just meant a lot coming in, not really knowing everyone. There were a lot of people that I already knew, but even the people I didn't know just really welcomed me. So it was just an overall amazing experience. And the show just definitely brought me so close with so many people that I already knew or hadn't met before.
Wonderful. Would anybody else like to go?
Well, I can say for myself, I've done a few shows with GCPA, and everyone I've always made like great connections with so many people. Going into the show, I knew like plenty of people, but I also met so many new people, and it definitely felt more like this cast like instantly clicked. It was so like all the relationships were very like dynamic, and it was like we were all like family instantly, and that's not always the case with the casts. Like I mean, it's always GCPA is always welcoming, but I'm so glad I got to be a part of this production because it was the most welcoming and most like loving show I've ever been a part of with GCPA.
Yeah, like similar to what Marquesa said, I've been in a ton of shows with GCPA, and they're all such different cast dynamics, but this one was like definitely the closest. There was a ton of us, like a lot of us, so it was so cool to have like such a mass of people behind you and supporting you every night, and like it was just fun. Like it wasn't going to rehearsals every evening for however long. It was spending time with my friends every other night and going out to dinner and going out to lunch and just chilling, you know?
I
That's wonderful.
think for me the support system that was displayed in this show was unlike anything that I've ever experienced before. I think just tagging on to those points about the instant connection and just the quality of the performance and the whole experience, like this was, I've never done a show like this before, and having that reassurance of that support system behind me to know that I'm not alone when times get tough during the rehearsal process. It was just an all out wonderful like experience, and the community was just amazing.
Yeah, I thought it was real good. You know, as me being a newcomer to GCPA, I felt like I built a family. I made new friends, even though I went in only knowing 3 people, and I was so shy, but I was glad to make people laugh. I was glad to have a team. I was glad to have a communicatable team, and like it really like GCPA really brought me in, and like I really didn't really know how to do theater, and it really helped me with my acting and my singing and my dancing. I learned so much, and I couldn't thank GCPA more.
I just want to step in here and share a memory. I remember Isaiah, and maybe he was with Montgomery and Nadia too, but I saw him walking around saying, "Hi, what's your name?" to various members of the cast. And we were like a couple weeks into the
I
rehearsal
was trying to
process.
make new bonds.
You
And
did
like,
not know my name.
Yes,
We've been talking for like at least a month, and you had no idea my name.
look, it was just I was so nervous, and you know, you had to make it seem like I knew your name, even though I didn't. But but I was glad I still was able to talk to you and meet new people and meet new bonds, because I needed, you know, you had to talk to your cast. That's all we had, and like we were staying all the way out till 9-10 o'clock, and like it was a family, you know. We really connect.
That's wonderful. Anybody else? Any final additions?
Yeah. So like everybody else said, like the cast really like clicked immediately, and everybody was there for each other, which I think is really important in a cast. Ragtime is a hard show to do. It deals with some difficult topics, but everybody always had each other's backs, and it just felt like a family, really.
That's wonderful. All right, these answers provide a really good segue into my next question, which is, in my opinion, a cast is only as good as it is close. And so I saw a lot of you get close to each other over the course of this rehearsal period. And I just want to ask what your favorite memories that helped you bond with your cast members are. It could be any time throughout the process, even during shows, whatever you got. I'm interested. Go for it, Grace.
Okay, I got a few, so stick with me here. Definitely Raising Cane's. When I drove a ton of people to Raising Cane's, and we blasted Bruno Mars in my car, and it was awesome. And we all like there's a ton of people that went to Raising Cane's. It wasn't just like a small group, and it was like kind of like you know, like when you have 2 show days and everyone kind of goes out between like at dinner time together. It felt like that, but it was like only a month into rehearsal, and it was so fun. So definitely that. And then Ragtime Madness. Ragtime Madness was so
Explain
fun.
Ragtime Madness.
Okay, so it was me and Lily Griner's idea. We were talking about March Madness because we thought about this around March, obviously everything. You're like, what if we did March Madness, but for the songs of Ragtime? Because there are so many songs in Ragtime. I think there's 32, but that's if like combine some songs and make some songs their own things. It's confusing, but anyway, there's about 32 songs. So we did a bracket. We did this huge bracket. It's on the whiteboard if you go to GCPA. It's still up there. But then every so often the cast would vote on which song they like better. So he was like, Make Them Hear You versus the opening, and then whatever won March Madness. And we finished it like the Saturday of Tech. And it was, I think, till we reached that day 1. And it was so fun. It was such a cast bonding experience.
And just for a moment, everybody, what did you vote for? What was your number 1 song, your preferred list?
Get Ready Rag. It was the best. I was like,
Mine was "Can Hear You." Like I've never heard that song and not cried. I've never heard Langston sing that song and not cried. That was my number one.
Wonderful.
You go.
All right, mine was definitely Sarah Brown Eyes. I cried every time on that.
Ooh, sleeper.
Yeah. Shadows on the wall with like the spotlights. Oh my gosh, spotlight kill me every night.
What about you, Ashley?
I think.
Oh, yeah, go for it, Rico.
Oh, sorry. I think I personally, I loved Omalara singing Your Daddy's Son, and then I loved Anna Kay when she killed Back to Before every single night, like consistently. Those two are just chef's kiss. Oh my gosh.
Andy gets it.
I see the night that Goldman spoke there, Andy. I agree. That's a great sleeper song as well.
Yes. I had Journey On going all the way, personally.
I had Journey
really
On.
sleeping on Journey On. It did not get
I'm
nearly
wearing
enough.
my Journey On bracelet right now.
I got Goldman bracelet on today. No.
I'm pretty sure I had Till We Reach That Day. Yeah, I think.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's a great song.
I mean, there's so many good songs in this show. It's like you can't pick. Like it's so hard to choose because the music is just so rich, and it is unlike any music that I think I've ever tackled ever. Like this music is really like it stands apart from other musicals in this genre. It's amazing.
All right, thank you, Grace, for explaining that. Other memories. I want to hear from everybody here. What memories of bonding do you hold on to?
One of the memories that I can remember. Well, it's a lot of memories. We all remember when Monty kept on following. That was the most funniest thing. And another memory is when me and Harlem, we finally realized how good of Getting Ready Rag had to be. And like, in the beginning, we didn't used to make sounds, and like it used to be so funny if you think about it, because in the beginning it was just like so quiet. And like we were just doing all these movements and like we wouldn't hear nothing. But I think that was my favorite memory, the Getting Ready Rag. Sometimes I even do it in my room still. I love the barber scene. I love it. And also rehearsing You Gotta Dine. That was so I love rehearsing.
Isaiah and I worked that line so much, and he delivered.
It was
props
so
to
good.
you.
But like every time we rehearsed it, it was like at Tech Week. That's when we got serious, because throughout rehearsal we laughed every time when we said it at the GCPA facility. But I really liked it. That was my two favorite memories.
Thank you. Anyone else?
One of my favorite memories is definitely making bracelets backstage in the dressing rooms. We had like the string. It was giving like Girl Scout summer camp. It was so much fun, and I have like matching bracelets now with people in the cast. So it's just like little stuff like that. That was so much fun. And then honestly, like a core memory I think for me is just like performing Till We Reach That Day. Like nothing to me is just more like powerful than that moment where we're all just like standing there like realizing like, wow, we're doing this, and we can like feel the audience's energy. And it's just, so yeah, two very different memories, but those are some of my favorites.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's good. I'm sporting one of the bracelets made at the time as well. Yes, Marquesa.
One of my favorite memories is when we first ran Act 2 and hearing Sarah Brown Eyes for the first time. I've already talked about it, and I will never stop talking about it because it was incredible. That was my favorite number of the entire show, and it just like the way that Laura choreographed it and the way that Paul blocked it, like mixed with the dance, it was just incredible. And I remember bawling my eyes out, like sitting in the corner, like actually like making noise because like I couldn't stop crying. And then another memory of Ragtime that I love, Isaiah is probably the funniest person you will ever meet. And just like hearing him like make like little side comments during success, like backstage and like on stage even, it is so funny. He's the funniest person I've ever met.
To add on to the Sarah Brown Eyes, oh my goodness, to be backstage and to watch the silhouettes, it's just so heartbreaking. Like, it's so good. Oh, it was just so touching.
I agree. I agree. Even the dance leading up to it with Rory, who I believe is watching. Shout out to Rory and James. Beautiful transition into Sarah Brown Eyes. Love it. Yes, Rico.
I think for me, just um when we actually got into those final weeks of actually running the show at rehearsal, like it was like what, a week and a half, 2 full weeks of us just running the show before we got to tech. And I can still remember being in bio or being in World Civ, going over my lines, going over my music, and I just during those couple of weeks, I just could not wait to get to rehearsal and run the show, and then come tech and get to see all the elements that were added, the silhouettes, the imagery, everything that just added on to the foundation that we had already set during those numerous amounts of rehearsal time. It's just nothing like that. Like it was truly like something that I will always remember. Like our rehearsal times with each other were, to me, some of the most, like, the best memories that I think I'll ever make. So shout out to GCPA for this, because this was good. This was good, man.
Oh, look at that. Look at Rico. The great pictures came out.
Look at the
Performance.
you.
So go check it out on the Instagram page. There are some really nice photos there. Anyone else? Yes, Asher.
One of my favorite moments was doing the whole run through. That was just like a super cool experience, because it was truly like one of the like best first run throughs I think I've ever done. It was like it was like a sneak peek of like what the show was gonna be like, and I think a lot of us like were surprised ourselves, because it was just like it was so amazing. Yeah, that's my favorite memory.
I remember Paul remarking on it, saying that was a fantastic first run. That's seared into my memory there. So you guys really earned that. All right.
4 plus 4
equals 8. Very good. All right. You guys have touched on this a bit, so I'm gonna ask. Tech Week. It's a long and sometimes grueling process where you really begin to see the show come together, though. So it's kind of worth it, is it not? It's also a time where the cast is all together for hours on end. So what are your favorite memories on and off stage from Tech Week specifically? Like a moment in time where you started to really see the show come together. What stuck out to you during that bit? Because while you guys think about it, I'll start. So I was sitting right next to Paul, our director, while he was writing some of the lighting cues and seeing them come together. And I think it was particularly in Act 2 when Cole House and younger brother, they shake hands after younger brother says, "I know how to blow things up," and seeing that light cue for the first time, absolutely blew me away. I said, this is going to be something special. So that was one of my favorite Tech Week moments. There's too many to count, truly. But yeah, well, you guys have any answers?
I have one.
There you go.
My favorite memory in Tech Week was when I guess that was Rico speaker, and we were doing the wobble in the dressing room, and like that was so fun, and that's one of my favorites.
That's good. Yes, Marquesa.
Just adding on to what Isaiah said, it was so funny to like go between the dressing rooms and hear like the two completely different like types of music that were playing on the speakers. But it was so funny, and like sometimes you'd be in the hallway and hear them both, and you're like, yeah, that's like it's such like a good representation of our cast. Like it was so amazing. And then another thing that I remember specifically about Tech Week was, I think it was the second day of Tech Week. We had to come in a little bit early for flight call for Kalia getting on the swing for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I just remember seeing her like get like elevated for the first time. And I was just like, yeah, this is going to be a good show. Like, I mean, I obviously already knew that, but like, it was just like, wow, like these effects that we had, like the Model T, like everything was so cool. So yeah.
No, yeah, and like literally, I was thinking the same thing about flight call. Like the first thing that came to my mind is just as soon as you see people like literally in the air, it's like, wow, okay, this is gonna be phenomenal. And then when I saw the car for the first time, I was like, we mean business. Like that was really just cool to see. So there's like all of the tech elements kind of like coming together with what we're doing. It's just really, really cool to watch.
Yeah. Oh, look at that picture right there. Just gorgeous. Just gorgeous, right? Oh, when seeing the lights come together was so special for me. Does anybody else have any moments? Yes, Asher. He beat you by a second, Grace.
One of my favorite moments was seeing Cole House the third run out on stage. Because it's just like, oh my gosh. It was first of all, it was so cute. And then second of all, it's just like it's an amazing way to end the show having having Mother, Tata, little girl, little boy, and Cole House the third
Yes.
all come together on stage holding hands. It was just like really magical. I love that.
Oh,
Yeah.
he was spoken about for so long. And he lived up to the hype. What were you
And-
gonna say, Grace?
Oh,
Cole
yeah.
House and Sarah were on the bridge. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Like they were there too. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
All of them together.
I loved when Sarah was like on the bridge watching over everyone as they said their little things. I'm a sucker for a good epilogue. Like truly. I love epilogues, but to see that just made me so happy. And then so memories backstage. Oh, here's one. So during like 10 out of 12, which is the first which is the Saturday rehearsal, I like to watch and like sit and watch the show, and I ended up sitting next to Zoe Clervin, who played who was the little boy, little girl understudy, and we sat for like 2 hours and we just talked and watched the show and talked about our experiences, and it was just such like an awesome like small little moment in this crazy tired day, and we just like connected. I hadn't really talked to her that much before. It was so fun, and we talked about like Candy Crush and Color by Numbers and all the stuff.
Grace, what level on Candy Crush are you? Can you just share that?
I should not say. I should not say. I am at a very high. I'm at a very high level of Candy Crush. It's me and that one grandpa who waits for the levels every week. Let's just say that.
Okay, that's so funny. We've got a question here from the chat. It says, "Can you talk about the role of dramaturgy in history in a historical show like Ragtime?" And we did have a dramaturg for this show, and they presented about the history and the context of the time period that Ragtime was set. Does anybody want to tackle that question and say exactly what how that presentation helped you kind of get into the context and of the time period? Yes, Grace.
Yeah. So history's like a huge thing for me. Like anyone who knows me, I'm like a huge history nerd. Like I would tell people about like we would talk about like characters and stuff behind off stage and be like, I talk about Houdini and with like Evelyn with Kalia. But it was such an important part because the show is so rooted in the historical background. You could do Ragtime in whatever period, but it really hits in the specific time, and everything is so like interwoven with like characters like Emma Goldman and Henry Ford and all these different people. It has to be like it's such a time and era specific show that it's so important. And I think the production did a really great job of using the projections on the stage, so you could like see like historical photos of Booker T. Washington and like Harry Houdini and see what they actually looked like, to see like our representation, but also like what was actually happening.
Very good answer. Very good answer. Yes, Rico.
I think one of the best things about doing this show is because when I actually got a chance to talk to numerous audience members after the show, and one thing that I would say was a general theme across the board was that they never thought that they would see a group of teens doing a production of such a heavy and mature show like Ragtime. And I think that that is not to brag, but that's pretty big of an accomplishment if you really like think about it, because it is super rare for our age group in particular to be, yes, we might tackle these topics in school and in studies and everything, but doing it in theater I think that those two kind of, when you talk about the outside versus theater and everything, those two kind of separate with each other when it comes to historical context shows. And so with everybody being knowledgeable about the past events and us taking that time, I think it was one of the first rehearsals where we took like an hour or so to talk about historical context and what was going on at this time and the emotions of people. And I think that was really it was necessary, and it paid off because it gave everybody, I think, another layer of understanding that was needed for us to tackle these characters and everything. So I think that was amazing. That was really cool.
Thank you for that insight. Fabulous insight. Thank you, Rico. Yes, Marquesa.
I mean, in general, dramaturgy is not an easy job, and Kate Schuler did an amazing job with it.
Shout out Kate
So
Schuler.
yeah, definitely shout out to her. And I think historical and like the relevance of history when you're trying to bring a show that happened in the like it's set in the past but has so much relevance today, like that's you have to learn the history before you tell how it is represented currently. And that's I think the biggest part of like how dramaturgy like played into our show, because to like know to like feel the relevancy now, you have to like dig deeper into the past of it and to the actual time period of it, and it just like see the connections. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for that insight as well. Anybody else? If not, we will move on to the next question. Oh, wonderful. It seems like we have raised over $3,500. Let's see if we can get to 4,000 today. Let's see if we can get to 4,000. Thank you, everybody, so much for giving. And remember, individual we're looking for unique donations. Like I said, $10 can turn into thousands. All right. So next question. Now, what did you learn about the craft of acting or dancing or storytelling in general, and how acting and dancing can contribute to storytelling throughout this process? Go for it.
Okay. What I learned is it's a time and a place and for everything. So like, for example, when Willie Conklin or Father or any other one that says like the N-word in the show, yes, it was really hurtful. It's really hurtful to the people that's playing the show. And yes, it did catch many people that I have asked in my family off guard when they first saw the show. And I said, see, it's a difference between acting and being actually doing it. So like you have to like tell people like that this is not a show um that hurts people. It's not a show that's supposed to like target Black people. No, it's a show to show you how things were back then, and it still is to this day. It was a show to visualize and to see how can I make a change. And just because a Black man gets mad, why does it switch up when he gets mad rather than something else or someone else does something wrong without color? And that plays a big part of like respect and everything else. So like it was really about like paying close attention into like what you were doing in the show, and like realizing like the aspects of what you were doing towards people and the show as well, if that makes sense.
It did. Thank you so much. Yes, Rico.
Sorry. Just to piggyback on Isaiah for a bit. I think he is so right when he talks about it is not targeting anyone. It is more so bringing awareness to the societal issues that were going on at that time and that are unfortunately still happening across the country and across the globe today. I think the cool thing about Paul's direction with this show is that he made sure that there was a reason behind every choice, every emotion, everything that each one of our characters did in this show. And I think that's what made it stand out from others, is that it is quick to label something as this without seeing, okay, well, what led up to this? Why is this person feeling this way? And I just think that Paul did a terrific job of making sure that that was set in stone, and that the audience was able to understand that clearly. And that is what sets this apart from, I think, probably other productions of this show.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Does anybody else have anything to say on that? What you learned about the craft of choreography and acting, and what the story meant to you. And each of you played different, ensemble roles, and there's a lot of different perspective about a lot of different societal issues. Talk a little about how that affected you and what you learned there too. That's a big question.
Okay, so I'll say to that, like, how did it make me feel first watching it, or like seeing what was going on? It was really impactful to me. I felt as if it was really great. It was a good visualization of like what it was back then. And whether your role was big, whether your role was small, we all felt something. Like, whether you were the ensemble, whether you had one line, whether you scrum once, you still felt something in the show. No, I don't think no role was better than no one, because I feel as if everybody felt something. Even everybody, I can truthfully say that everybody cried during Till We Reach That Day. Not one person cried or did not cry, because we felt real emotions. We felt the pain on Cole House's face when he saw his girlfriend, soon to be wife, dead in a casket. And for people to actually see that and just walk away from it, you can't do that. You have to think back on that and like really learn from it and take that in as an emotion. Keep that close to you, because that part of the story was really hard. Yes, it can be hard to watch police brutality to what happened to Sarah, but at the end, Cole House was still there, and like the rest of the cast, we had to take in that emotions, and we had to turn it off. And sometimes it was kind of hard to turn it off. So yeah, it was a lot, you know.
Yeah, seems edifying. Very nice. Very good answer. Yes, Lauren.
I will say, like, kind of bouncing off of Isaiah's point, yes, like, Till We Reach That Day, like, being in the ensemble, there's just so many different types of numbers in this show, and so it's like, I was in Crime of the Century, which is very upbeat and cutesy and fun, and then, I was in Till We Reach That Day, like, witnessing just a very heartbreaking moment, and through that, the whole cast, we were, like, there. We were in that moment, and we were crying genuine tears just because of how impactful it was. And so I think the biggest challenge for me, as an actor, and just something I gained for my craft, is just I went from Till We Reach That Day to literally just a few numbers later dancing in Atlantic City, having the time of my life. And so I think it's just really an important skill to have, to be able to almost pull yourself together and put yourself back into your character, I guess, because yeah, it just is really challenging. It's a very emotional show, but in the show, life still goes on, and I have to kind of put myself in the shoes of my character and what my character is doing in that moment. And then I was on a vacation in Atlantic City just a few numbers later. So it's definitely something that the whole cast, I think, really just had to learn, and it's a really good skill to have, just for theater in general.
Oh yes, Ragtime is a show that absolutely has emotional whiplash attached to it. And so I'm glad you brought that point up. We are only $382 away from $4,000. Can we get 5 friends to donate $10? We are so close. Thank you everybody so much for giving today, and being with us here while we chat about Ragtime. Thank you so much, Maren, for that piece. Does anybody else have anything to say about what they might have learned? Asher, go for it.
So I think the show is like really interesting, because every character is so different. Like Cole House is completely different from Tata, and Tata is completely different from Evelyn Nesbit. But I feel like in like every song, the entire cast was just like connected. And like I feel like it was like really impactful. Like till we reached that day, I Marin said, and everybody's crying, and Isaiah said that too. Like everybody felt so connected, and also I think that's what made our cast feel so much like a family. So I think it was just really cool to see the different dynamics with characters, but like in the end, everybody was like together, I feel like.
Wonderful. That's good to hear. Oh, yeah, looks like we got multiple hands. Marquesa, you were the first.
So adding to what both Marin and Asher said, I think Marin mentioned something about being in the moment, which was something that I definitely thought like came with this show. Like one big skill for like acting, that added on to like, you know, the craft of it all. Like being in the moment is such a valuable skill, and sometimes it's really hard to apply. Like obviously that's what acting is. It's being in someone else's shoes, being in the moment. But it's hard. It's easy to get caught up in like, what's my line? What's my dance? And this show, I feel like it's so real and so brutally honest that it's like you kind of have to be in the moment to get the point across almost. So it's like I think that's one of the main skills Ragtime helped me with. Yeah, I don't remember what else I was gonna say, but yeah, that's what I learned.
Maybe we'll circle back around if you remember. Grace, you also had your hand up.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we talk about like the craft aspect of it is like how to really appreciate and dig deep into a score, because the score is so absolutely ridiculous. Like I said, there's 32 songs in the show. It's a 3-hour show, and it's mostly all singing. It's the closest to an opera musical theater can get, in my opinion. And like you really have to like, and you really get the opportunity to like, yeah, shout out to Lori, shout out to the band, to like sit down and like look at the music and see like all the different motifs. Like I call it like the death motif, but it's like the ooh, that thing that we always say we sang in, yeah, that, but like it's just like that's what Sarah sings. That's what Sarah sings at the very end. That's what every time someone dies in the show, that's the first thing that you hear. After like Cole House dies, that's the first thing you hear. After, you know, it's crazy. And like it's such a nerd thing. But like it's awesome to see all the little hints, like, in Journey On, one of my favorite parts is like not is it Journey On? It's Success. He's singing about like apple pie and china plates, and you hear a very patriotic like a drumming, but then it's the same drumming that's put on at the very end until we reach, and not till we reach that day in Make Them Hear You, when he's about to get murdered, when Cole's about to get murdered. So it's like this two sides of this coin where like you have this like patriotic thing, but you also have like this like it's like a march, kind of like a sad march, and it's just so incredible. And I mean the lyrics are just so good. It's just banger after banger line, like come on, like there's I could not, yeah. I would go on forever about this. I have to stop myself, but so many good
this lines. Is good. This is great. As an actor, it's good to start digging into these bits that tell the story better, so you can try to see what kind of parallels writers, composers are trying to tell. So, you know, that brings a wonderful segue into the next question. Like, this is such a rich story with such rich music and scenes, you know, together. And so how would you describe the approach that GCPA took to help you guys dissect some of these things in the rehearsal process, whether it was directing or choreography, and how choreography helped hold the story, and music? Because as you talked about, there's a lot of rich, thick music to get through, a lot of underscoring. I know we talked a lot about the underscore. If anyone sees that, got a dime. We only need 2,800 dimes, a little more than 2,800 dimes. That's a line that, you know.
Isaiah, you gotta say the line now.
You gotta say the line. Will you say the line for us, Isaiah?
Okay. You got it. I'm a little rusty, but you seem to have a lot of change there. How about a $7?
That's good. Thank you. That's wonderful. All right, let's circle back around to the question. How would you describe the approach that GCPA took, the creative team took to try to break down these rich, complex scenes for us? It's a bit of a hard question, so I'll give you some time to think about it for sure.
Grace.
I actually think Grace got the hand up first that time, first of the day.
Well, okay. Definitely time. Just time and patience. Like, he wanted to, I remember he wanted to say, which is like in all like comparisons to the rest
My
of the
second
show.
favorite song, gotta say that. Just put it out there.
It's like it's a very short number. Like it's like the opening is 9 minutes long. He wanted to say is probably approaching 3, maybe not even. So, but we spent like 2 or 3 hours on that. Like I remember, like we spent a long time on that number, and it was great to be able to like dissect it and really like get everything right. Like we ran it so many times because we wanted to be so good. And I think that's such like a unique thing that a lot of other companies don't have the time to do. But we're fortunate to have that. So yeah.
Yeah. To add
Sorry,
on
I couldn't
to
find my
Grace,
mute button. Yes. Next,
The Y-
Isaiah. Thank you for that answer, Grace.
yeah, the YCT. Can we just give them a hand praise because they did so good? Like, man, I never seen kids our age, be able to direct a show so good. Even though, yes, we were chatterboxes, we chatted a lot, but man, we got through it and we did so good. Without them, we would never have had the show. They stayed with us thick and thin, and I just thank God for them because man, throughout the 9-minute show, the 9-minute opening and stuff, like it may seem like it was 9 minutes, but man, it felt like it was fast. It felt like it was too fast, and like I felt like every song that we sung, it was so fast. And some people had to do quick changes, and people don't really realize how fast the quick change was. But man, we was changing, and without the white
Quick for a reason.
yes, we were moving, and I thank God for them.
Marquesa had her hand up first, then we'll go pivot over to Marin.
So going off of Zion, what you said about like choreography and how that kind of brought the show together. I mean, obviously there are choreographed numbers and choreographed like actual dance moves, but I think another big thing that Ragtime taught me was that there's choreography in little movements too, and that there's choreography like choreography doesn't have to be a big number. Like, I mean, obviously getting ready rag. No hate on anything. I love that number, but like there's something as simple as like turning to the front all at the same time, like in Till We Reach That Day, or like even holding tension in the opening. That was something that like it's so like individual to your characters. It's those movements help develop. It's really like the foundation of the story because how you hold yourself, like that's choreography. Like it's not all the big flashy numbers, crime of the century. It's not, I mean, it's, which obviously all of those were amazing. Like don't get me wrong. That was amazing. I loved all of the dancing numbers because they were done so well, but there's like simple choreography really brought along the story, I think.
That's good. Thank you so much for bringing that up, talking about how choreography is more than the big numbers, and it's all character informing, and it's all storytelling. That's high level, and I'm glad you were able to focus on that this show. All right, anyone else? Yeah, go for it.
Like kind of piggybacking off of what Marquesa was saying, like a lot of the show was just like simple movements that were so powerful, but the really choreographed numbers like Henry Ford, Getting Ready Rag, Crime of the Century, Atlantic City, I mean, that was time and patience. Like I think Grace said earlier, it's just really incredible how not only the youth creative team was also like they were going over everything with us when we weren't like rehearsing, but also just the whole entire team, like they went over everything, made sure that we got it. We had access to videos, which was just so helpful because the choreography, when we did have big numbers, they were big, which was just so awesome. And they all came together, and every little move had a purpose. Like Henry Ford was just so sharp. And then Atlantic City was more like fun and floaty. So yeah, I just loved all of the choreography and the bigger numbers as well. And I love that we all had time, and yeah, we were able to go over it a lot, which was great.
Shout out to Lawrence and Laura, who put in a hard work to get you guys looking right. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Anybody else? Yes, Asher.
So for me, I know not everybody in the cast can relate to this, but I mean, I played Harry Houdini, which is a real person. So, and I know me and Zion worked on this a lot. For me, it was difficult to sit into that character because, I mean, it's a real person. So like you have to reprogram how your body moves. Especially for Houdini, he's this like mysterious guy. So like, in my opinion, it's harder, because like, in other shows with, just like, fictional characters, you kind of get to make it your own, but with real people, you have to go more based off of like, the real person. So just like researching Houdini, that was, it was a new experience, but I think it was, really interesting, and I got to learn a lot from it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. The students, juniors audition prep class requests all of us say hi. So can we all say hello to the juniors audition prep class?
Hi, Junior.
Hi.
Hello.
Shout out to Christy. Thank you so much. We have two other members of the cast who were after playing real people. So can you guys talk about how you approached it? Yes, Rico.
Oh, before I get to that topic, I think the one thing that really stood out to me about this whole process is Paul really instilled the notion of there's so much power in the stillness that was presented on stage. Like there's so much power in Cole House when being faced with a derogatory slur. There's so much power with Tata going from protecting his daughter to being that loving father as they're traveling through these hard times through a new country. There's so much power and mother standing up and being calm in the face of father. There's so much there's so many examples of just power being held in that stillness, and I think that was really cool to see yourself, Zion, and Paul critique those things and turn them just a little bit, and I think that was really important. But on the topic about Booker T. Washington, I think with him also being a real person, a real historical figure in time, I think it was the really cool process about me was looking up certain I actually looked up certain like articles and biographics that were about him, talked to people like Paul and yourself about different things that I can do to make sure that I was really fulfilling the role of Booker T, as those are really big shoes to step in. And I think that the advice that I got from you guys, the research that I did, really taking that time to understand who he was, his motto and what he stood for, what he believed in, it just really helped me ease into that role just a little bit more.
Yeah, really similar to what Rico said. I did a lot of stages, got a ton of research, and I learned all about her. And like I read a lot of Emma Goldman's speeches, and I talked like the Lawrence Mass Strike. That's a real thing. Like so much of what we talk, like the real people talk about in the show, are totally real things. Like there's the monologues beginning of at the beginning of the show, at the end of the show. Those are all based on like true historical events, and it's so important to me. Like I know that stuff because like when I said like my very last line is like she would also be deported as well, and it's such a different idea to like be for Emma Goldman to be deported because she was a communist, which she was. There was a whole Red Scare. It's history nerd, like, oh, it's so awesome. But she was deported because they knew she was a communist. So they sent her back to like Canada. But that's very different from like her being deported because she's an immigrant, and maybe there's some crossover between that. But like it's really cool to like really know what you're saying and what's true about that, and like feel the power that it holds.
Wonderful answer, all three of you. Thank you so much. And if you all can see it, but we are only $32 away from $4,000. That's not many dimes. That's not many dimes. Thank you so much, everyone, for investing in these kids and this company. All right, guys. Another question. How do you think GCPA, well, I'll say this, GCPA prides itself on treating kids like professionals to see them step up to the plate and get the best work out of them. How do you think you handled that level of responsibility? What did you learn about professionalism during this process? Don't all answer at once.
It's a hard question. Give us some time.
It is. That is. I can start by talking about my experience in 2018 and 2019. And so when I first was in Violet in 2018, the summer of 2018, I was in an interesting part of my acting career. I knew I was confident in my abilities. Oh, no way we had that ready to go. Shout out Caroline Santiago Turner. Yeah, I was confident in my abilities to act, but I hadn't learned really to respect the craft in terms of, showing up off book when you're supposed to be off book, and preparing your scene when your scene is supposed to be worked, and respecting your cast members with the work that you're putting in. All of that I hadn't mastered yet. Because I was never expected to rise to such expectations. And it was during that process that, the summer is a little different than the spring. We have much shorter time, much longer days. But I really learned and observed from my peers what it was like to respect one another with the work that we were putting in to get the best story that we wanted, because that's ultimately what we want. And so I learned a lot about, and it was from the lens of respecting my peers, about how to show up ready to work and show up having worked already, So that's my answer. Looks like we're ready. Go for it, Maren.
All right. So this show for me, I learned just a lot of responsibility just about being in the theater world, being an understudy. And I love that GCPA really does a good job just recognizing and just recognizing their understudies more than I have ever seen before. I mean, they did an understudy run, which is just incredible. I was unable to be there, but it was just my responsibility the entire rehearsal process, knowing that I had, another role to fulfill, just to make sure that I knew what Evelyn was doing in the scene and make sure that I knew her songs just in case anything were to happen. And I do think a lot of that does come out of respecting my peers, because I mean, if something were to happen, it would be unfair of me to not know what was going on. And so, I think a lot of that motivation of just knowing Evelyn's stuff really just came from respecting my peers and being a part of the team. So I think that is just a really great asset to professionalism. Like, we're all a team, whether you're performing that role 24/7 or not. I just wanted to make sure that I was ready and on top of it just in case. So yeah.
Shout out to the understudies. They put in so much work, and we try to make sure that we give them their flowers just as much, just because of the work they're putting in. And the understudy run was amazing. So thank you all for putting in that work. All right, anyone else? Go for it, Isaiah.
So GCPA has really did a good job on our music. I feel like Laura, is it Lori? Lori, right? Lori.
Shout out Lori.
Shout out
we
to
already
Lori.
Shout out again, Lori in the band.
At first, I did not know how to sing. Yes, I sung a solo here and there before, but like it was really scratchy and it was really off place. But she really has trained my voice to do things that I didn't know I could do. And like in the beginning of rehearsal, I was like, why do we keep on running over these songs? Why? And it's like, and it kept on doing like these single parts just to crisp them. And I kept on saying in my head, like, why does this matter? Can we just leave? But over time, I really thought about it. And I was like, this is the reason why, because she wanted it to be perfect. She wanted it to be crisp. Like, we had to really focus. And like, I had to take that negative thought instead of trying to rush it. I had to actually do the work. And it was really good because now I think, because it was so good, like now I can sing now. And like, I wasn't a person to always sing before, whether I was an ensemble or not. And like she really has powered my baritone voice to do things that I did not know I could do. And I thank you for that, Lord.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That is so sweet. Yes, Marquesa.
So I think the fact that GCPA does shows like Ragtime, that in itself shows that they have to be professional to put on these productions that aren't necessarily like easy productions to do and not necessarily like typical productions to do. So that already shows that if they're going to do this, they have to do it in a way that is professional and that treats the actors like each individual. I know that it's hard sometimes, like at different theater companies, because there's so much going on. It's hard to get like individual time with like the directors and like have them have like, I don't know, understand the material more, help understand the material more. But you could walk up to anyone on the youth creative team or on the creative team and you would immediately get help, and like you would they see you, they see everyone in the cast, they help with anything that they need. And I think that's something that definitely made this experience so much more like enjoyable for everyone. It definitely got like it gave us a little insight into the professional world for sure.
Good. Just hop in. Okay,
cool. Can I give audition tips first? Because I saw that and I really want to give audition tips.
Whatever you want. Go for it.
First off, my big thing is be yourself. Like, come on, because you're like auditioning for the part, right? But you also want to be like a good person to work with. Like, you want to be funny. You want to be like, you don't have to be funny. If you're not funny, then I don't know. Be yourself. Be silly, be creative, make bold choices. Because they're looking for you to play a part, but they're also like looking for like a friend, because you want to make art with people you like, and so they want to cast people you like. So like just be yourself, because people like you, obviously. So yeah. Anyway, I'll answer the initial question.
Tips. Thank you for those tips. I hope you want to take those to heart.
Yeah. Okay. I think GCPA's strongest aspect of all of them is their professionalism, just like hands down. I go to an arts camp. I go to Interlochen Arts Camp, and they are very professional as well. And I meet all these kids there who are like, oh my God, Interlochen is like, it's so professional. Like, I feel like we have like call time to sign in every day, and we have all these things. And I was like, that's what we do. That's what I do every day. Like whenever I'm in a show, like it's expected that like I know my lines after we block the scene. And like that's such, I think that's a thing that a lot of high schools, a lot of other theater companies don't necessarily do as well, because they think they treat you as kids, not as adults, and the GCPA treats you as adults. And that it's only prepared me. I've only had good things come out of my professionalism that's been fostered at GCPA. And it's all testament to them.
The youth and youth theater is capable. They're capable of stepping up, and you guys prove that. You proved it this show, and you've proven the other ones. It's good to see. It's good to see. Thank you all. Anybody else? Any last? Okay, great. Here we go. Now, you all have mentioned it. Till we reach that day, the finale of Act 1, absolutely gut-wrenching. The way you guys showed authentic grief and sorrow and anger and hope, that you were portraying on stage. And I just want to let you know that it left the audience and a lot of the cast members in tears. Can we circle back and talk about what that moment meant and why it led to such tears for you all on stage? Hop in. Just when you want to speak.
I would say, like my personal experience, I'm not like a big teary eye person, but I would say that moment in particular, for me, it got real, or it became real, a more realistic feeling when we first ran it with her in the casket. That was like a different, it hit different. It really did. I don't think I've ever experienced something like that in my theater profession ever. beforehand. And so I think that was a great shout out to the production team, shout out to everybody who was behind those works, because that really added that level that we needed for those raw emotions to pour out on stage and for the audience to be touched by that. And getting to hear people talk about being touched by that, that lets me know that we did the job well done, and that lets me know that people really believed in the message that we were trying to get across, is that we will never get to heaven until we reach that day of equality, until we reach that day of everybody being able to come together, fellowship with each other. And so I think that shout out to the crew, man, for just all of their hard work, giving all of those little tiny elements that were needed to get our message across and more clearer for people. So yes, crew and creative team, y'all did that.
I think what's so powerful about Till You Reach That Day is that it is a song of equality, but it's also showing equality. It's everyone's voices, literally everyone's voices. But it's not just, it's Cole House's perspective, but you also have Mother's perspective, and you have Emma Goldman and Tata's perspective. So you're getting all these communities that you've clearly, they're very separate in Act One. Like if you look at it, they're it's very Tata's story, Mother's story, Cole House's story, but at this moment they all come together for this one common thing, and you're and it's just so mind blowing to see, and it's incredible. It's truly incredible.
To add on to Rico and Grace, I think when that first song starts, the way Rory delivers that song, and she sings it so well, and that's the most powerful part of that song, when she first comes out and holding her rose, and then she starts to get into it, open her arms and seeing her tears fall. Oh, it's just so powerful. When I see that, and when I see Rory sing that song and she cries, that's just so emotional. And to see Omalara in the casket, it was just so powerful, and I loved it.
Adding on to what Grace, all of you guys have said, I think one of the most impactful parts of that song is seeing everyone enter, kind of, and when the entire ensemble, obviously there's people on stage already, but when the entire ensemble enters and we're all standing there and no one's really touching, a few people are hugging, but no one's really touching, but you can hear everyone's vocal vibrations. That's, I feel like when I was standing there, I felt everyone's voice. This sounds so weird, but I felt everyone's voice. I felt people singing on my back, and it just it promoted this sense of it's, no one is alone. We're all together. We're here in this moment together. And then adding on to that, just from where I was standing on stage, I could see Langston's face from a side profile perspective, and oh my gosh, and just seeing him bend his body over the casket and seeing his eyes, and he looked almost innocent, like a little kid, he was his lip was quivering, and I was oh my gosh, that, it's these little things, the vibration of voices, the lip quiver, all of those little things compiled, and it added to this beast of a song that, I mean, I never had a dry eye. And so yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I think Marquesa summed up literally everything I was gonna say. I think that song for me, there was just a moment near the end where I was just standing there, thinking how, I am part of something, in this particular just moment, I'm part of something so much bigger than myself. The audience is watching me and my castmates right now, and I'm we're making an impact, and we're making history, dare I say. And so I think I just had that moment of wow, we are seriously making a difference. And I think that's just such a cool thing to feel, just at this age, in a show, in my community. And yeah, I think that song for me was when I just had that moment. So yeah, it was just really, really awesome being a part of it.
One thing, like Grace said, everybody was so connected during that song. And I think one thing that made everyone feel so connected was the tension. The tension was so high in that song, and it was in everyone's body. You could feel it like all across the stage. It was so high, and especially when we turn and then start doing the pulses with our feet. Yeah, that was it was crazy. And then oh, what was I gonna say? Um, I forgot. But yeah, just the tension being so high, I think brought everybody together. Oh, this is the other thing I was gonna say. I think in rehearsal we established that like the immigrants in New Rochelle aren't actually there at the funeral. And so I thought that was really interesting because it's not like everybody's just like at the funeral to pay their respects to Sarah. It's also like everybody is impacted by Sarah's death, even though they didn't know her at all. So just like it was like a shift in the show. It made people realize that they need their justice. And so I thought that was really incredible.
Yeah, one of the big things that like motivated me when I was singing and like acting it out was we talked about like kind of what Asher said, that like all the people. So in the songs, a lot of like interjections, like I said before, from like mother and Tata and younger brother and myself, and we talked about how they were like voices in the atmosphere, like they were talking about what was happening, and like they weren't actually at the funeral. They weren't like speaking to the audience. They were talking to other people, and they're saying this is a bad thing, we need to make some change. Like they're like, and I imagine the other like the conversations where those words were being said, and it adds so much depth to the story and the presentation of the song.
So sorry, one more thing. I remember Marin said towards the end there was like a moment where I don't know what you were talking about, but like that one moment I feel like was, I don't know if you guys remember the pause, like right after "Oh Lord, and then it's like we all like pause for a second. And I think that was even more powerful than when I was just talking about like the vibration of the voices, the breath that we all took together as a cast, like a breath. And it was like a short moment that just meant so much. I don't know, that specific moment until we reached that day, I loved it. It was like all of our voices just like stopped for a second, and it was just a breath, and it was
followed by the biggest belt you can imagine. How cathartic is it on stage to sing out a note with your fellow cast members?
Yeah.
I mean, that was true allyship. Thank you, Mr. Dave Cooperstein. Thank you so much.
Another thing to add to what you said, Dave, when the curtain fell, you still heard people crying. And like you still heard like somebody got whooped or something, like you still heard it. And that was so powerful. Like that was so good.
The Saturday Night Show when everyone started clapping before we ended the song. Oh, that like it's such an awesome feeling. Like I can't describe. It's just so powerful.
True allyship is what that culminated to, and it's just knowing how close you guys were, and for all of you to be singing on stage for this common goal was really special to watch. All right, I think I've got one more question. If no one else has anything to say about that, I think we covered a lot of the bases. All right. Who was your favorite creative team member? There is a right answer. There is a right answer. I'm joking. That's not the question, but I know the answer was going to be me. The question is, if you were to pitch GCPA to friends in 3 sentences, how would you do it? You kind of done it in an hour, but real concise. Take your time. Take your time. It's tough. If I were to do it right off the rip, during curtain call of dress rehearsal, bottom right corner. Oh, okay. If you can't tell, that was me being so excited, seeing the moment come together.
I was feeling that picture. That is my response. Let me give a better one, but for now, that's my response.
That's the pitch. That's good. If I were to pitch GCPA, I would say it is when you walk through the doors, you will come across a community you didn't think would mean so much to you. A place that respects you enough to treat you with professionalism that draws out your best work, and you'll make some really, really cool art with some people that you care about. That's how I would pitch it. The impromptu answer for me. Yes, hop in.
Radical kindness. Radical kindness. I talk about that a lot with other like friends talk about it at school, but radical kindness. And another big thing for me personally is like doing what you love and loving what you do. And that's at the core of what GCPA is. Like in the logo, it's for art. It's not for the awards. It's not to it's strictly for the creation of art. And that is so awesome.
One thing I think I would say is once you do one show there, you're not gonna leave. It's because it is unlike any other place, and that's just like whenever I think of GCPA, I'm like, or whenever someone new does a show, I'm like, oh, welcome to the cult, because it's like it's addicting. I'm addicted to GCPA, and I'm not ashamed of it.
So how I would describe it, it's professional. That's like one of the coolest things about GCPA. It is welcoming. Everybody is welcomed, no matter who you are, and everybody has a place at GCPA. And I think a lot of people can call it their home away from home. And also just respect, not only from peers your age. There is very much respect from peers your age, but also from the adults too. Everybody just respects each other at GCPA, and I think that is incredible.
GCPA to me is a place where everybody is seen. Like nobody is overlooked in that building. Like everybody has a voice and everybody is seen. And then what everybody else said too.
GCPA is really respectful, really respectful. In order to be able to do GCPA, you have to be responsible, like really responsible of what you're doing, and you have to have confidence into what you're doing when you do it. You cannot bash yourself. You cannot low blow yourself. Yes, you may make a mistake on missing a line or messing up on a line rehearsal. But as long as you come back and know what you messed up on, GCPA will still rock with you till the end. Whether you're talking to Paul or YCT, it doesn't matter. GCPA is always a family and always a bond that you can have. Whether you're small, big, old, it doesn't matter. GCPA is a true family, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
I think GCPA, especially for me, GCPA is just comforting and it is a breath of fresh air. This company has just uh, penetrated the idea of being welcoming, of bringing your true self, and just bonding these kids who all share the same one goal is that we love theater and we love what we do, and being able to share that with so many different people that come from so many different backgrounds that look totally different, and coming together and being able to come to this company and build such a great show, and they do it time and time and time again and have never failed. That is something truly special. And that is not something that I could say about a lot of places, but GCPA, I would never second guess myself on that. They are truly one of a kind. This is a really special place to be in. And I'm so grateful and honored to say that I'm a part of the family, baby. Woo!
Well, you all sold me for certain on that. I guess I was already kind of sold. Well, thank you guys so much for those answers. We love you all too. Well, everyone, I think that we're about out of time. We want to thank you all who joined us live for sharing your evening, and we hope we shed some light on what GCPA means to everyone who walks through our doors. We thank you all for supporting us financially on today, and we thank you for all the support that you will have in the days to come. Remember to come back at 9 p.m. to see some staff antics from our GCPA staff. It'll be a really good time. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Marin. Thank you, Marquesa, Isaiah, sharing Rico for sharing your time as well to talk about the company that you're a part of.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
So
you.
so
Thank
good.
you.